Welcome, everybody, to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest-running sales training podcast in the history of all podcasts. I'm one of your hosts, Bryan Neal.
I'm the other, Bill Caskey.
The other,
to be here.
Bill Caskey. Velvety smooth voice. We are here every week for your listening enjoyment. And you can find us on LinkedIn. We got a big group. It's 14,000 of you listeners in the group. And we have a program called The Insider that meets live the first Friday of every month. And you hear us talking about it all the time. You hear us talk about it all the time. And you still haven't joined. Why haven't you joined?
What is in your way? This month we did a first Friday. We always have the meeting, the training on the first Friday of the month, if we can. And then this month we're doing a second training. There's a bonus training today where we're taking the stuff that we talked about and we're going a ton deeper. And I'm helping people in kind of a coaching mode in a group. So we're going to try that today. We might end up doing that on other topics, other months too. But if you haven't checked it out, go to advancedsellingpodcast.com/insider. Tuition is reasonable. It's $97 a month. You get access to modern and sometimes counterintuitive strategies on how to build your business.
Live and in person with a group. That's the coolest part about it.
Yeah. I had something happen yesterday to my daughter, who has a daughter. So it's my granddaughter. She's 3 years old. Her name is Palmer. And I heard that one of the teachers at her daycare got fired. And this lady was like 75. They called her Granny, and she was 75 years old. Been there for a long time, but something had happened, and she kind of was getting mean with some of the kids and all that. So we heard that, and then Kara's husband, Cody, says, "Oh yeah, about 3 or 4 nights ago, I was putting Palmer to bed, and she started crying, like violently crying. And she said, Granny said, I'm a bad girl. I'm not a bad girl." I'm like, oh my heart is breaking. It's like, what kind of a message are we sending 3-year-olds? And she knew that she wasn't bad, but obviously didn't tell Granny that. And so I thought, man, it's such a lesson in, even if you're a VP of sales and you got people who are misbehaving, don't say they're bad people. No. Okay. I've got to be a little bit more eloquent than that.
Oh, poor Palmer.
For a 3-year-old to hear that and suddenly didn't say anything about it until she was getting ready to go to bed. And that's when it all flowed back to her.
I love that she still claimed, I'm not a bad girl. Exactly. She claimed it. At a girl, that's the way to go. Yeah. Roar.
Don't worry, Granny. Granny's been fired.
Oh my gosh. And there's some generational fun we can have with that too. But I saw a TikTok on a millennial teacher whose mom was a teacher. And she was telling her mom how they do things differently. It was like a funny staged thing, but they're both. And the mom, who's like in her 70s, said, "Get in line and shut up." Yeah. And then the young woman's like, "That's not how we say it. We say, let's make good choices with our bodies, kids." You know what I mean? Like, was that a good decision? Like that, like, get in line and shut up. That's how we were raised.
That's the culture. And that's that creates a lot of problems in organizations too. If you've got people who grew up in that era of the stand in line and shut up, and you have now people who are there managing, it's a dynamic it's tough. It's tough, and it creates unpleasant situations sometimes inside the company. But we all know that.
Well, Palmer, you're a good girl.
Yes, you are. She's repeating that.
Girl. I'm a good girl. Okay, topic. Let's get into this. Yeah. Somewhat inspired by a trip I took last night to watch the Indiana Pacers play the Phoenix Suns. And because I work also in the fall in sports, it got me thinking about, we're at the end of our first quarter as sellers and as business people. And like a lot of games, not all games, there are 4 quarters in a lot of games. In basketball there are, in football there are, and other things are not. But let's use those as an example. And the first quarter ends and there's a score on the scoreboard. And it's either in your favor, it's not in your favor. It's tied, you're close, you're winning by a 20-point margin, you're losing by a 20-point margin. And now you got to go play the second quarter. And you hear coaches taking data. It was also interesting to me. Because I sat kind of low so I could watch the Phoenix Suns coaching staff. Mm-hmm. They're getting these reports and papers. These statisticians are handing them papers and they're looking at it all the time. They're analyzing data in the game to make adjustments to try to win the game. And so it got me thinking, how does that apply to us as salespeople and as sales leaders? So we are about to the end of a first quarter. There's a scoreboard. It either looks good, looks bad, or looks medium. And now what do we do? And the tough part I thought in my mind was, how do we stay in the moment and say, okay, that's great. I still don't have to think about the whole game now. So like in basketball, if the statistician's looking in the first quarter, at the end of the first quarter, and Bill Caskey has 3 fouls, I have to think about the rest of the game because Bill's in foul trouble. Yeah. You know, if Bill's got no fouls, I can just look at, Bill's only taken 2 shots. This quarter, let's get Bill to take 8 shots. It's more in the present. Yeah. So I thought that's a good discussion about how do we as sellers and sales leaders process the end of quarters and how do we make adjustments?
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of my basketball days, actually, since you brought that up. No, it reminds me of a story I heard. Swen Nader, who played for John Wooden. You remember John Wooden, the name? Of course. At least. A lot of young people would not know him, but he was a UCLA basketball coach for 20 years, and he won 10, 11 national championships in a row at UCLA. And he had these big centers, Swen Nader, Bill Walton, Kareem, Lou Alcindor at the time, Kareem Jabbar. And Swen Nader wrote a book about John Wooden's coaching philosophy. And he said, never in his 4 years of playing for Wooden did he ever talk about winning a game. He never talked about winning a game. And these were teams that were undefeated, so they knew how to win. But he said his philosophy was, we can't control the winning of the game. We can control the next time up the court. We can control how we put our shoes on. I mean, he had this whole thing where how do you fold your socks? How do you make sure your socks are right in your shoes? And everybody laughed about it, but he was taking care to make sure that, everything that could go wrong, he was preventing. And we'll just play the game. And if you play the game in the right way, it'll all work out. And I know that's not the way you and some leaders at companies, because they get nervous when the first quarter is off. But if you're playing the right game, you're doing the right things, things work out.
Isn't that true? I had a client in the shop yesterday, and we had all the sales leadership team plus the owner or CEO. And the owner CEO, we get done, and we always trade like books and music. And he goes, BZ, I got one for you. I'm like, what? He showed it to me. It's from Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh was the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers back in the day. Also multiple time Super Bowl champion. And apparently, I haven't fact checked this, that he wrote this book and actually passed away before it got released. And the book is called The Score Takes Care of Itself. The Score Takes Care of Itself. Now, I've not read the book. I'm just buying it right now.
You can't read, so.
And I listen to books. The audio disclosure, I do. Believe me, I don't read books. I listen to them. That's a true story.
The score takes care
of itself. And I love where we're landing in this episode, that when people look at a scoreboard and no matter what it says, they tend to then think, how can I get the score to change? Mm-hmm. Either to widen the lead, widen the margin, get a lead in the score, or catch up to make it tight again. Mm-hmm. And it's scoreboard focused. It's numeric focused. And like what you just said, I think the first kind of lesson here, as I'm even talking about it out loud, is when you see the scoreboard, don't think of the score, think of the process. Think of the things, the inputs. Correct. The inputs are the things to look at, near term and far term. And that's the biggest mistake.
Yeah. And also, and we've talked about this before, that if all your focus is on the end result and not on the process to get to the end result, then you will be a miserable wretch, because some years the score will be good in your favor, some years it won't. But if you hate the process, if you don't like to ask questions of customers because you really don't give a damn about their pains and problems, then you're not going to excel. And I feel like sometimes we get so hung up and focused on the end result, on who wins the game, that we don't get any better during the game. And so we lose the first 2 games, but we learn a lot of lessons. Then we win the next 30 games because we learned in those 2 games we lost. We didn't beat ourselves up for losing. We learned. We got lessons. And if you have a bad quarter, what's the lesson I can learn from that? What does that want to teach me about my behavior? Maybe my skills have waned. Maybe I need to take a class or get coaching or whatever. So
it's so good. Something that's shown itself now for me also, and this is more of an observational, anecdotal like evidence here. I've got some facts around it, but mostly anecdotal observation is I'm noticing either mostly in process and behaviors, I'm noticing the biggest contributing factor to the scoreboard is either the consistency of behaviors, process that are contributing positively, or here's the thing that people aren't realizing, the slow fading of good process over time leads to a bad scoreboard.
Get sloppy. Yeah.
And it's not an immediate thing. And so what I'm noticing, this is if you're listening to this, really check yourself on this. You'll ask things like, let's use what we talk about a lot here. Let's use posting videos on LinkedIn. Someone listens to our podcast. They get all excited. They boom, video. And then they go to spring break and there's a little gap and they come back, they're really busy. And then there's no video. And then they get one again. And then the next thing you know, by the end of this year, there's nothing coming from LinkedIn. And we go, what happened? You're like, well, I was posting videos in first quarter and then, spring break. And so it didn't fall off. It just fades away. And then you look back, it's like gaining weight or losing weight.
It's gradual.
It's very, very gradual. And then it seems all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But it's never all of a sudden. So I think a take, if you're listening to this episode, is to evaluate what behaviors or processes that are good and favorable for you and for your clients have faded or are fading.
That's right.
And stop the fade.
And I've said this before, that the reason we have lasted 20 years on this podcast is because when in a day when most podcasts are here and gone within 5 episodes or whatever, we've lasted 1,800 episodes, is because we enjoy doing it. And we don't assign any kind of, well, how much money did we make this week to it? In fact, I don't know that we could even calculate that, to be honest with you. I mean, you get some leads from it. I get some leads. Some good things have happened from it. Your clients listen to it. My clients listen to it. Maybe it makes that engagement longer. So, but we enjoy each other and we enjoy doing it. It gives us a chance to share what we're seeing in the marketplace. And this gets back to, does your job bring you joy? And if it doesn't, you got to dig a little deeper to find the joy. Maybe it's in there somewhere, but you just haven't, you're not thinking about it that way. Or you find something else that does, because you only have a certain number of summers in life. And, as you get to be my age, you start to calculate the summers and you're like, I probably have 15, 20 summers left and 15, 20 rounds. And so am I experiencing joy in what I do? And if you aren't, you got to fix that. Because if you really love calling on brand new prospects, you're going to be really good at it. If you hate it and you only do it to get to a number, you're not ever going to be good at it. And people are going to feel it. They're going to feel you don't really want to be there, but find joy. That's why we talk about who are you here to serve? What's your purpose of serving people, and get in that mode. And then those behaviors become easier to do, whether it's shooting a video or making a cold call.
Isn't it awesome to watch salespeople that love the process?
Yes.
I was just with a group, and this guy announced his retirement, and he's been doing what he's been doing for 40 years. He's a sales guy. And he was so proud. He picked a date. It's in September, and his team's joking with him. They're like, no, you can't leave, Pete. You can't leave, Pete. No. And what I said, and I was joking, but then I'm like, no, I was serious. I'm like, Pete's the kind of guy that loves this so much. He's going to retire. And if you guys call him for anything, he'll jump off the couch or off the golf course, and he'll come and jump in a truck and get to you guys and help you out, because he loves what he does so much. And it oozes from his being. And then he's just he's a great performer because of that, and a great boss and a great leader and that sort of thing. And that just hit me about this guy, that he exudes and oozes that he loves what he does so much. And it's not a fancy business. I'm telling you, it's not sexy at all. Industrial, but he loves it. He loves it. Really good.
So it's kind of a lost art, I'd say. I think it's a little bit lost. And I think the reason is because we have focused from the love of the business to the love of the numbers. And you can't love numbers as much as you love the people in the business that you're there to serve and solve problems for. I'm sure he has great relationships. He wouldn't have lasted this long if his clients didn't freaking love him. And they love him because when he comes in, he pays attention. and he cares about their issues and their problems. He doesn't care about the money. He knows the money will come. It's the Bill Walsh book. What was it again? The numbers.
The score takes care of itself.
Takes care of itself. Yeah, man, that's a great episode from that standpoint. Not because we've dived into it perfectly, but I think that's just a reminder of there's a bigger thing at play here than just the numbers.
And he's the number one guy to show up for class every time we're together.
Of course,
first guy.
Of course,
great lessons.
You know what? I think we should do a podcast sometime on the level of I think there's a widening gap between the amateur and the professional. And the professional is doing things the amateur is not even thinking about doing. And guys like us see it because we're exposed to a lot of different organizations. We see organizational excellence and we see the professional organization. And we also see people that aren't. I think we need to do a whole episode and maybe even a series on that, because I'm seeing that gap widen, and the people who are at the bottom end of that don't know how to fix it. They don't understand what these pros are doing differently, and they're grasping at things that don't work.
I've got that prompted another take that I'd love to talk about. We should do that episode. Yeah. I've got another thing about the next generation of sellers and that definition of pro. I'd love to do that.
Good. All right, let's do it. Hey, if you haven't joined our LinkedIn group, make sure you go to advancedsellingpodcast.com/LinkedIn. And while you're there on that site, not on the LinkedIn site, but on the Advanced Selling Podcast, check out Insider. We're going to be doing another training in April, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more as we go here. So hope you enjoyed today's episode. We love you. Let us know what do you want to talk about. Let us DM us on LinkedIn and let us know if there's some topics you want us to get into.
DM us. I love a good DM.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, see ya.
Bye.